I threw my sister-in-law and her family out to the streets because they're the dirtiest people in the world. Now the in-laws are mad and have started World War IV. My husband has 2 brothers and 1 sister. His sister and her husband are not my favorite people in the world. Recently, they have been couch surfing as they lost their home. Long story, which could have been avoided if they had adulted like they should have. First, they stayed with my in-laws, but they used the excuse that my father-in-law has diabetes to get rid of them and their rowdy children. Next was his older brother and his wife. They had 2 spare rooms as 2 of their older children moved out a year ago, and they only have the 6-year-old and their 13-year-old twins at home. After 3 weeks, they had to move out due to a planned refurbishment. They were happy with them as they were generally tidy and helped out in the home. The youngest brother was the next to take them in. While my sister-in-law was there, she helped out in the home and kept her children on a leash. The youngest brother's wife is very house-proud, and she allowed them to stay for a limited time only as they have had a baby recently and her mother will be staying with them to help out for the first 6 months. Then they emotionally manipulated my husband to say okay. I agreed to it on the condition that she and her husband, as well as their children, keep the place clean because in the past, the only place they are messy in is my home. For example, if they are throwing something into the kitchen bin, they will throw it in the general direction of it and not in the actual bin. It's extra gross when it's food stuff that dries up and stinks out the place. Similar things happened in the past where she would leave her sanitary towels on top of the bin lid in the bathroom instead of in the bin. Her oldest daughter started her periods recently, and I asked the younger brother's wife how things were for tidiness. She said she had no complaints. They went to bed on time and kept the place clean. However, they were there for only 2 weeks. They are always tidy at the other houses. I know this from experience too. During Christmas and summer holidays, when we stay over at each other's places, I have seen the difference in how they are at my place and the other places. Before they moved in, I made the younger brother and my parents-in-law witnesses to them agreeing to keeping my house as clean as it is and to chip in with chores. If they broke the rules, they would be out immediately. She fussed and denied past wrongdoings, but said, "As you wish, Your Highness," sarcastically. The first 5 days were smooth sailing. This morning, I found a sanitary towel on top of the bin and not even wrapped properly. That is not all. Her daughter is staying in my daughter's room, and she made a mess of the shampoo and conditioner in her bathroom and had left a tampon on the side of the sink, forgetting it from last night. Her husband leaves early for work, and the kitchen was a mess when I finally got downstairs. I have a curious toddler, and I don't want him to pick up a bloodied sanitary towel. I knocked on the guest room and told her to pack her things and get out. She looked angry and tried to play innocent. She said it was only some blood and to chuck it in the bin if it bothered me so much. I told her no and picked up her suitcase, throwing their stuff in it. At first, she wouldn't leave the house, saying she was going to wait for her brother as she doesn't take orders from me. But I told her this house belongs to me too. I dropped her and her youngest ones off at my in-laws. A few hours ago, her husband came back from work, and when I wouldn't let him in, he made a scene. He went to my in-laws, but they don't want them there due to father-in-law's illness. When my husband returned from work, my in-laws turned up in our driveway with her and her family within 20 minutes. They are still standing outside and squabbling about being let in. I refused to open the door and told my husband if he backs down, he isn't welcome in our home either. So the family thinks we're acting this way because I have never liked her, and I'm using any excuse to get rid of her. Have I acted fairly? Update 1. Yesterday, my driveway looked like a scene from some Mexican standoff. They were out there discussing the matter while I refused to go out and engage. After 2 hours, yes, 2 whole hours they left. They are currently at my in-laws, but they made a promise to return to discuss the matter tomorrow as everyone will be home from work. And that way, we could all find a workable solution. Well, at least that is what my husband relayed. When my husband got inside, I told him that I would not have them in my house. I told him that he could clean up after them, which he did. After cleaning up, he asked me why I made him do that. I told him I was just as grossed out over other people's bodily fluids as he was, and unlike him, I wasn't biologically related to them. So if he found it unsavory, imagine how crappy I felt in the past cleaning up after them. He promised to buy a new bin and bleach the sink 3 times. Our strategy for tomorrow is that under no circumstances are they coming to live with us. His niece will be made to clean up the bathroom shampoo and conditioner mess. He left that part for her. In the meantime, our daughter can use our shower. Update 2. Yesterday was a long day at my in-laws. My in-laws started with a guilt trip first. They mentioned that they would take them in until they found a place. But due to my father-in-law's diabetes, it wouldn't be good for his health. I told them to tell their daughter to parent her children so they wouldn't run around like monkeys. That way, they could stay with them as they have spare bedrooms. That didn't land well with my sister-in-law. She went on a tirade of how I have always been jealous of her and that I was trying to drive a wedge between her and her brother. I told her she didn't like her own life, So me being jealous of her and her life was a stretch that required suspension of reality. Boom. Roasted. She asked my husband if he was okay with me telling him what to do with his family as he always stays out of my family's business. She told him to lay down the law and tell me that his sister and her family would stay as long as IT took them to find a new place to stay. My husband was having none of that. He told her that the house was mine just as much his, and it was a 2 yes and 1 no deal. Just because I was stay at home now didn't mean that I didn't contribute to buying the house when I was working. The younger brother and his wife said they wouldn't be able to host them as they had his mother-in-law staying due to the baby. The older ones mentioned the refurbishments. Both the younger and the older ones' wives said that I was making it up about the cleanliness as she always kept her own house clean and kept their places clean. They told me to suck it up and act like family. I told them I wasn't there to argue about her cleanliness as I saw what I saw and her brother was witness to it and had to clean it up. He confirmed that he did and that I wasn't making it up. My sister-in-law slipped up and asked why did her brother cleaned it up because according to her, I was meant to clean it up. Either she is the dumbest cow alive to admit it or she knows she has the whole family in her pocket. Either way, I made it clear she wasn't going to stay with me and because she got along much better with everyone else in the family, they would figure out something around their own lives. My husband told his niece that she was old enough to clean up the remaining mess, but she said no. Her father jumped in and said, "She is your niece, but my daughter, so don't you dare tell her what to do." It got heated between them, so they both had to walk it off. I told her and her husband that the only reason me and my husband were there was to get money back for the bin we had to throw out due to her sprinkling biohazards around the house. She laughed in my face and said it would never happen. I said fine. I hope you realize that when I threw you out, I didn't pack all your belongings. I still had her daughter's Switch, her husband's tablet, and some of her jewelry, and a few other bits that they left. It would all be sold to recuperate my cost. We left, but she was yelling loudly about what she would do to me if I dared to sell anything. My husband has my back, and he said go ahead and sell whatever you need to. Later on, they kept texting my husband to do them one last favor by putting up with her for a few months until she got back on her feet. I told him that no matter what, I wouldn't agree to let her, her slobby husband and her horde of children back in. They texted me too, guilting me about his niece's education. With no place to stay close to her school, she might have to start at another school if they get a rental which isn't in the school zone. I blocked them. My husband won't block his parents yet. They did admit it was gross but excused her behavior by texting that maybe I did something to aggravate it. To top this off, the oldest wife left a voice message through her husband's number to my husband's WhatsApp. She said, "I kid you no, are you still okay to watch our 6-year-old kid on Tuesdays and Wednesdays like usual?" I told him to say, "Figure out what the answer to that request is." So that is where we are at now. Update 3. So I went to pick up my children and had to stick around a little longer as a new family is moving to the area. The parents wanted to meet their children's classmates' parents, so we had a small meet and greet. The office brought my husband's older brother's daughter, the 6-year-old, to me as I am the one that usually picks her up and on Tuesdays and Wednesdays as she stays with me. No one had picked her up and when her teacher noticed me waiting in the hallway, she asked an office admin to bring her to me thinking I was delayed due to meeting with the new parents. I told them that I wasn't responsible for her anymore on Tuesdays and Wednesday. They took her back to the office, and they must have called her mother. When I returned home from the meet and greet, my husband said his parents had called him and spoken their mind to him about me abandoning their granddaughter. They also put his older brother's wife on the phone, and she had a shouting match with my husband. It ended with my husband telling his parents that they had lost the privilege to talk to him for a week, and he would only unblock them when they give him and me a sincere apology. He explained that it was up to the parents to make pickup arrangements when I had made it clear I would no longer provide free services. The sister-in-law I kicked out is staying with her parents for now. Her husband and her younger 2 and 2 of the older ones are staying with my in-laws. The other older 2 are and the other 2 younger ones are spread between the other 2 houses, but they made an indirect threat saying it would be a very temporary arrangement as she promised it wouldn't take long for her to make her brother see the light. Have we gone too far? Or do you back our decisions?